Sales interviews. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, Pete, can you do a video on sales interviews? Because I've got an interview coming up and I feel like you might be able to give some advice that could land me the job. Here we are, this is today's video. So comment below if you are currently looking for a sales job or you want to switch careers and you're thinking sales could be something that you want to do. Or if you've got any more questions on how to succeed within a sales role, let me know as well. Maybe I'll even do another video on it. If you don't know me already, I've worked in sales my entire adult life in one way or another. In fact, I believe in a way, we're all salespeople. Right now, you watching this video, guess what? I have to sell to you that this video is worth your time so you don't click and go look at some other video. Sales is not just a nice to have in our life, and knowing how to sell, it is fundamental. And there's no more important sale, especially if you're in the midst of your career, than your job interview, because a job interview is you selling you and your skills and that you are right over all the other candidates for that role. What I want to do in this particular video is share tips that you wouldn't normally hear if you just go on Google, if you look here on YouTube. So they're going to be from my own experiences. I'll share a couple of questions that you can ask the interviewer that'll be really useful for you. So make sure you watch right until the end to get those questions. If you hear something that is valuable, it is crucial that you write it down and you consider how you can implement that into your next interview, because the last thing that you want is that you hear some steps or some tips that can help you, and then you get into the interview and you think, oh my goodness, what did Pete say? I forgot, and by then it's already too late. So let's talk about that first thing. Most people believe that a sales interview is what happens in the interview. Actually, a sales interview is sold long before the interview even happens. If you are in the wrong mentality, if you're stressed, if you're getting anxious, or you're running late and you're reactive, then you're not going to show up as the best version of you. We have many versions of ourselves, right? True or false? If we are not taking care of that time before the interview, and what we want to be able to do is get ourselves in the best state of mind and prepared for that interview. But again, I'm not going to share generic tips that you'll hear about, that you need to do your research at the company, you need to think about all the questions that they're asking you. That's not what this video is for. What I want you to do is I want you to realize that every single day when you wake up, the first person you need to sell to is you. If you wake up in the morning and you cannot sell to yourself that today is worth getting out of bed for, then already you are setting yourself up to not have the day that you really want. This is when things start to go downhill. People ask me all the time, they're like, Pete, how do I do better in an interview? And I say, well, rather than worry about the interview, think about how you're selling to yourself every single day. So get in the mindset of the first person you need to sell to is you. Believe in yourself, and it starts with how you wake up in the morning. Waking up, hitting the snooze button 5 times, not going to empower you. Waking up and getting out of bed and doing 2 or 3 steps that make your day better, that's already a great start. What do you do next in terms of killing it in an interview? So the first thing is to not worry about your experience. Yep, you heard me. You might have 20 years experience, you might have no sales experience, but let's just throw that out the window right now. I've interviewed hundreds of people for sales roles over the years. Although I take note of their experience, it means almost nothing unless they're coming in for a specific high-end, complex sales job. If it's entry-level sales or most sales roles, I'm more interested in what they can do for my company or the company I'm recruiting for, as opposed to what they've done, because what you've done is in the past. Think about your sales interview as a business meeting. That's all it is. It's a business meeting where, instead of you having to prove all the things you've done in the past, that you're saying, hey, you know what, I may not have the experience, but I'm hardworking, I will learn like crazy, or I will understand the steps that you have in your business to succeed. And then from there, this is what I will aim to do for you over the next year, 5 years, or however long you want to work for that company. Rather than worrying about what is past, you move into what you can do for the future. So staying with this theme of it's not about your experience, then what is it about? Because you can't just walk in and only say, this is what I can do for you. You don't want to make big promises and then not be able to deliver. For me, when I've been interviewing people, it is much more about is that person coachable, and do they have self-awareness? Because if they're not coachable, and if I can't help them and work with them and mentor or coach them, then I'm not going to be able to help them to succeed in this job. In order for that to happen, they also need to have that self-awareness. When asked, what are your key strengths? Rather than saying what everybody else says, that I'm super motivated and that I'm a closer, I mean, those sorts of things are pretty old school, right? And yeah, not really what we want necessarily. When somebody starts telling me how great they are at sales, in my head, I'm thinking they're not selling this to me very well. You're much better off showing that you have emotional intelligence, that you have that self-awareness, that you can be coached. Most managers will be looking for someone, especially if you're starting out, who has that humility, have that passion, that ambition, but have that humility as well, and say, look, I may not know everything, I can't possibly, because right now I'm at the beginning of my career. However, I will do everything I can to learn from you, from your best performers in this company, and to become one of those best performers at some stage. I'm not coming into this to be an average employee. I'm coming in to be the best I can possibly be. And by taking on that approach, it is going to serve you far more than going in and saying that you're the best salesperson or that you were top in the business. All that stuff is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, what you've done elsewhere has been and gone. And maybe you sold one product or service, but it doesn't mean that you can step in and immediately sell another product or service. In fact, most of the time, that is the case. You will struggle at the beginning and you will not have a flying start. You have to learn the product, you have to learn the company culture, their sales philosophy, on all of those things. Instead of being that like top dog sales guy or girl, look to be someone who is coachable, who has self-awareness and is willing to learn. My final bit of advice in this short video of like top tips for getting a sales job or smashing in the interview is that you want to have your edge, okay? And by taking on this approach that I've already shared with you, it's going to start to create your edge and you're going to stand out from the crowd, because believe me, everybody else is going to be saying how great they are and how they can close sales and get leads. For you, what you can do is you can actually turn the interview around and in a great way interview the interviewer. Now, most people, when they get interviewed, when they're asked, do you have any questions? They usually respond with either, no, I don't have any questions, which is a real shame, because that's your opportunity to understand more about the position, to understand more about the culture of the business, to understand what you might be signing up for. If you just no questions, that's pretty scary, because you're going in dark even if you get the job. If you're able to instead ask questions and open up the interviewer and what they're looking for, then you get to really shine and stand out in that interview. Rather than ask what I call selfish questions like, what's the pay? Or what are the hours? These questions make you sound like you're only in it for yourself. Ask more selfless questions or value-adding questions. So this means questions like this. Can you tell me, Mr. or Mrs. Interviewer, who your top performer is in the company? And then let the interviewer say, well, it's Sally, she is phenomenal. And then say, what is it about Sally that makes her the top performer? Now, the great thing about this question is that that interviewer is going to share their highest values of what they're looking for in a salesperson, in a candidate, in you. And this is really important, that at this stage, you listen well, because that person will turn around and maybe say, well, Sally is great because she isn't afraid to go out there and generate her own leads. On top of that, she has a totally busy schedule, but she's always proactive. So she shows up early and we're not having to chase her for her monthly sales report, so on and so forth. So now you've got hugely valuable information, because what you can do is, if you're really daring, you can say, Mr. or Mrs. Interviewer, do you see any of those qualities in me? I know we've only met for 1 hour during this interview, or 30 minutes, and you've only had a short chance to get to meet me, but I believe I have some of those qualities, but do you see any of those in me? At that stage, the interviewer is now not seeing you as a potential candidate for the job. They're seeing you as a potential superstar of their company. Again, you need to be super confident to ask that last question. Once you've got at least the previous questions answers from the interviewer, then you can ask more questions around it. So what makes her proactive? What would you say you're looking for in a salesperson over the next 30 days or the next 6 months? So be inquisitive about how you can add value to their company. There's more I can share on this, but for this video, let's keep it short and sweet. Comment below, let me know what's been useful, and then from there, I'll see you in the next video.